Welcome, Mayapack students, parents, guardians, and families. My name is April Umich, and I serve as the administrator for school counseling. I'm pleased to be your moderator for this evening's Junior College Planning Night. Thank you for joining us in person or via the district's YouTube live stream. We are very excited to gather here tonight with the shared goal of supporting our students as families as they begin navigating the college search process and understanding College Admissions 101. This presentation is being recorded and will be posted to the district's news YouTube channel for later viewing. Before we begin, I would like to extend my sincere thank you to Interim Superintendent Mealy, the Board of Education, and Principal Kevins for their continued support, as well as to our MHS School Counseling Department for their dedication and work on behalf of our students. We have a very informative and engaging evening plan, lasting about 90 minutes. We will begin with a presentation from our high school counseling department, including a spotlight we were hoping from a student alumni from the class of 2025, who unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances, was unable to attend. This will be followed by a roundtable discussion with college admissions reps from Binghamton University, Western Connecticut State University, Iona University, and UMass Lowell. We were hoping to have a rep from Westchester Community College, but unfortunately, she was unable to join us tonight as well at the last minute. However, WCC will be coming to MHS later in the coming months. We're going to conclude our evening with a Q&A session, providing with an opportunity for you to ask questions to both our college reps and our school counseling team. As we begin, we encourage you to keep an open mind, ask questions, and engage in meaningful conversation. Our hope is that you leave here tonight with greater clarity, confidence, and a better understanding of the next steps in the college process. So at this time, I'd like to introduce our panel. We are fortunate to be joined by an outstanding group of college admissions professionals who bring a wide range of expertise and perspectives to tonight's discussion. Mr. Joseph Tiesi, Associate Director of Undergraduate Admissions at Binghamton University, Alexa Rodriguez, Admissions Rep at Western Connecticut State University, Ryan Depew, Executive Director of Undergraduate Admissions, Enrollment Management at Iona University, and Donato Saracino, Regional Admissions Counselor, Undergraduate Admissions at UMass Lowell. We're also happily joined by members of our school counseling team tonight, whose ongoing support and guidance are central to the college planning process. Mariana Callaghy, Terry Lockman, Trina Capone, Anna Boyle, Julie Cummins, and Peter Vano. Unfortunately, Ms. Mittman was unable to come tonight, but I'm sure those of you who know Ms. Mittman, she is very sorry she could not be here. So tonight's presentation, I'm going to turn over to our school counseling program to begin, and they're going to guide you through the next portion of the evening and provide an overview of the junior year college planning process.
Hi, welcome to College Planning Night. We really appreciate you joining us in person or virtual. Together with our college partners, our goal is to provide you with the most current info regarding college admissions and college application process. Before we hear from our college reps, though, our department would like to give you a quick overview of the support we provide juniors in the college process. The very first thing, this may sound like a commercial, but the very first thing is junior conference. As you can see behind me, there is an extensive list of things that can be covered in a junior conference, including Naviance. Some of you have been familiar with it. We will actually show you how to build a target college list. We can even use AI to add more colleges to your research list. Research careers. Much of the information we're going to go over tonight you will be able to get through the junior conference. Ultimately, the goal of a junior conference is to provide each student with a custom, personalized roadmap to follow through college exploration, college applications, and ultimately leading to your unique post-high school plan. So, if you haven't already, be sure to schedule your junior conference with our clerical staff ASAP. We look forward to seeing you.
Hello, everyone. Well, I can say that I was just sitting in your shoes last year, because my own daughter is a senior now. And so I just went through this, and my slide is about finding your best fit. And that really is the most important thing. When you're, it's a lot like shopping for a car. I don't know about you, but it's not that fun. So searching for a college is a lot more fun and a lot more exciting, but it has similarities to shopping for a car, right? So when you're shopping, you're looking for comfort, you're looking for size, you're looking for what is important to you or your family. So same thing when you're looking for a college. Some of the factors that may be important to you are location, size, major, selectivity, cost can be a big factor, athletics, activities, any special programs, any college that has support for students with learning disabilities. Some colleges do have that extra support. Retention rate and graduation rate. This is a big one to think about. You definitely want to ask when you go for a college visit, which I'll talk about in a second, what is the retention rate? How many students actually graduate from that college in 4 years versus 6 years? And then what is the job placement rate? How does that college do with placing you in career, right? Because it's a big investment, just like investing in a car. You're investing in that college for 4 years. You want to know what your child can walk out with. And then, of course, social life, if that's something that's important. You know, do students stay on campus or do students go home? And I always say, you know, take a look at the housing. Some colleges will, and I visited a lot of colleges with my daughter, and I always encourage you to visit. Some colleges guarantee housing for all 4 years. A lot of colleges are moving to only guaranteeing it for 1 year. And of course, my daughter, and I'm sure a lot of your kids, wanted a college that had a nice dorm and was sure to have good food. How do you find that out? I don't know, but you can certainly ask that question. I know that was something that was important to my daughter. So moving on to the next slide. College visit, very, very important. This is what I say as far as buying a car. You're not going to just buy the car right off the lot. I don't know many people that do that. Maybe there is some that buy the car right off the lot, but most people will test drive the car. And so what I mean by test drive is you want to go to the colleges, and of course after the junior conference, from casting a wide net, and after that junior conference, we're looking to narrow it down to between 8 to 12 to 8 to 13 schools, about no more than that, because you're only going to one. So the one thing is definitely to have that visit. All of the colleges, it's nice. I did it myself. You don't have to call admissions. It used to be that you need to call. You can go right online and schedule that visit right on their calendar, and you can go see an open house. If you wanted to see a particular department like nursing or engineering or a particular major that you had an interest in, you can actually schedule the tour and the academic visit, which is usually separate, usually all in one, or if it's too much, you can go back for a second visit. And also with the visit, sometimes you can ask for a fee waiver for that application. So you can say, and they might waive your application fee. So I promise you, the one thing I will tell you is it's not scary. I know it seems maybe a little scary, a little overwhelming, but really from that wide net, we will help you narrow that down for it not to be so scary, and then your child will find that perfect fit for themselves. Okay, so we'll move on to the next slide.
Good evening, everyone. So as part of our college programming from our counseling department, one of the things we also offer is our college mini fair program. And what's great about this program is it is throughout the entire fall season. So starting in September and ending somewhere in December, we have our college mini fairs where different college admissions will come in and students have an opportunity to meet with them. So they're on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and this year we started Wednesdays. And in the screen behind me, you can just see a sampling of the colleges that have come visit us this fall. So we have quite a few colleges that come, and many more than just the ones that are presented here. So students can check our high school calendar on our website. There are announcements being made in the morning of which colleges are there that day. So students will have an opportunity to hear the colleges that are coming that day. If they have an interest in that particular school, they're welcome to come on down to the counseling center and under our College and Career Center. and be able to meet with somebody in a smaller setting. What's nice about it is that, students who maybe are not able to visit right away, or maybe are waiting to the spring to go visit a college, and let's say we have Binghamton or Iona or WestConn are visiting, for example, or UMass Lowell. They can always come down and talk with the admissions counselors and get some information. They can ask questions, and it's very helpful for our students. We get a lot of great feedback from the colleges and from students that it is a very helpful opportunity for them to network with those colleges.
Thank you for being here. And just a few save the dates for the spring. In April, there's a college fair at the Westchester County Center, April 29th at night. And also the next day at the Yorktown PNW BOCES campus at night as well, there'll be a college fair. Tons and tons of college reps will be there, so students and parents can go together, ask questions, get information about the schools. And the college reps always like to gather the information from the students, so there could be continual communication between perhaps the rep and the student. So this is a good way to network with college reps. So we encourage you, if you have time, to go and visit the college fairs. Traditionally, we've taken students in the spring on April 30th. That's the date set for this spring to PNW BOCES during the school day. We're not quite sure how BOCES will be handling that this spring. Once we have confirmation, we will communicate that to students and families. But just keep that in mind, that we may have a field trip to BOCES so that students during the school day can visit with the college reps and, as I said, network, get information, ask questions about the schools they're interested in. And then just in the fall, there's also going to be another fair to be determined in terms of the date. But again, we just encourage students to go and get information from fairs, mini fairs, college visits. It's really important.
All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the SAT and ACT. Colleges will accept either the SAT or ACT. Either one will work, okay? It's usually taken in the spring of their junior year. You want to be sure that the student has either been currently enrolled or completed either advanced algebra or algebra 2, because that is on the test. The current trend now.
Is the mic closer, Julie?
Closer. Okay. The current trend now is further.
You're good.
Good. It's the mic. I promise. We're good? Okay. Many colleges now have moved to a test optional option, which means that if the student chooses not to take the test, it's not going to be held against them. Okay, they're test blind. If a student takes the test and they like the score, they have the option to send it in. Some schools that are test optional may be optional for most majors, but then require the SAT for certain majors. There's no list that I can give you. Just go to the college website and you can speak with them, or perhaps when you're talking to a rep or doing a visit. Okay. Most colleges will superscore the test, meaning that if you take the test more than once and you do better on the math section in one test and then the critical reading section in the other test, they will take the highest sections from each test, okay? We don't want students to take the test 8 or 9 times. That's just not necessary. 1 or 2 times at most will usually do it, okay? If your student is planning on going to Florida, they are one of the few states that most of their colleges require the SAT. It's the philosophy of this department to take the test. If you're happy with the score, you can send it. If you're not, then you can just keep it and no one will know. Okay? Sorry.
Okay, so what are the tasks that we would like you to complete between now and the start of senior year? So the first thing and most important is to schedule a junior conference meeting with your counselor. We're giving you a very brief overview of the process, but in that meeting, we will go very in-depth with it. So please do that as soon as possible if you haven't already. The next thing is to begin to research and visit colleges. This is going to be a critical piece to the process. So Julie just talked about registering for the SAT. or the ACT. If that's applicable to your process, if you feel like that this is the route you want to go by taking the SAT, then that would be another step to take. Completing the college profile survey, so that is again something that we'll go over in the junior conference, but essentially it's a giant brag sheet where you're going to be putting down all the things that you've accomplished, things that go on in your life, so that we can write your letter of recommendation. The next piece would be to identify one teacher for a letter of recommendation and ask that teacher in person between now and the end of the school year. We ask you to do that for two reasons. For one, it's good practice to build that relationship, but also if you wait until the fall, there is a possibility that a teacher might say, hey, I've already committed to 20, 25 letters, I can't write anymore, so you want to just get on their radar now. And then the last piece is to start planning and thinking about and maybe even writing the first draft of your college essay. Working on that all the way from spring to the start of senior year. We do, as a way of support, we do offer through our STEP program a college essay writing workshop. You can sign up through your counselor. It's a really good way to get a first draft going and get some help from an English teacher. And lastly, on June 1st, we are also hosting a college essay writing workshop titled How to Brainstorm, Structure, and Outline an Outstanding Personal Statement, which will be hosted by the college essay guy.
Okay, and just as a reminder, the counseling department has created a junior-senior class information site, which is a one-stop hub to support students and families throughout junior and senior year. The purpose of the site is to help make your post-secondary planning clearer, accessible, and less overwhelming by keeping everything, timelines, resources, tools, and guidance in a centralized location. Our homepage of the site features the most up-to-date information, including important reminders, upcoming events, and next steps to stay on track. Each dedicated page on our site is tailored specifically to the needs of juniors and seniors, covering topics such as college planning and applications, career exploration, graduation requirements, and post-secondary options. It is a very living and breathing resource. We update it regularly and use it to share monthly newsletters and key communications to you. We strongly encourage you to bookmark this site and check it out often, as it will continue to be the primary way we communicate important information throughout your junior and senior year. Thank you, counselors, for that presentation. We're going to now transition to the next part of our discussion evening, which is the roundtable discussion with our college reps, and they're going to share their expertise and perspectives on the college search process, the admissions process, and respond to your questions that are for sure at the top of your mind. And to begin our roundtable, I'm going to start with the first question for the panel, which should help set the foundation for tonight's conversation. So I guess first and foremost, how can students determine if a college is a good fit for them academically, socially, and personally? Anyone want to jump in?
Yeah, since I'm on this side, I'll start off. My name is Joe Tisi. I'm the Associate Director at Binghamton University. And thank you, MAPAC, for hosting this today. Not every school does this, and we're honored. We know how much the counseling team cares about you to be able to offer this night to you. January, your junior year, perfect time to start the search. Absolutely. This is traditionally when students start to think about it. We're working with seniors right now, and seniors have their applications in, and they're about to make some decisions, and it's important. And they were exactly here we are now last year. So this is good. So what makes it different and special, and what determines the right fit for you, that's a big deal, and they mentioned it earlier. Of course, brochures are fine, and the websites are very good, but I think the best way to get to know whether a college campus is the right fit for you is to actually go there, and to walk, and to talk, and to take the campus tours, and hear the stories from the tour guides. They're polished, they're professional, they're fun, you can catch the vibe and their energy. It's just fun to see that. In fact, those tour guides were exactly where you are not that long ago. So to hear how they chose that school and the process and just the way they think, why they made those choices, that's a big deal. I would say even beyond the campus tour, stick around for a while and go into the bookstore, the food court, or the student union, or places where actual college students are just hanging out and being themselves. And talk to them. And don't be shy. As college is never a time to be shy. Just go up to them and say, hey, I'm in high school and I'm thinking about this school, and why did you choose this school? Why did you think this was the best fit for you? And then hear the story. And by the way, college students they'll just start talking with you. They love it. They love to mentor you. And I watch it happen where first-year students will come in and they get big brother, big sister, and you catch the vibe, the energy through the stories and the storytelling. Those kind of authentic questions and conversations is really important for you now, especially. This is all about getting good information to help you to make a good decision. A year from now, it's going to be serious. So my advice is to go there and just take the tours, go to the open houses as we spoke about, but have authentic conversations that are real, that will be helpful as you make your decisions.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Donato Saraceno, if you pronounce it correctly. I was born in Italy as Donato, landed in the Bronx, and all of a sudden I became Danny. For a whole year, I had no idea people were talking to me. I graduated top 3 of my class. You know why? Because there were only 3 of us. And when I realized I had to go to college, I looked at the size issue, because personalization for me meant everything. So one of the first things I think you should look at is size, the size of the institution, because sometimes bigger is not always best, and sometimes small is too small, to the point where you might have to wait for classes to come up, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe you want to be the big fish in a small pond, and size is really important. But as a representative of UMass Lowell, what I'm really delighted to talk about is that New York has become now a residency state, which means that now you're going to be paying the same price as residents of Massachusetts. What that does is lower your price down considerably, and my goal is to make certain that, I think all of us want to make certain that our students graduate as debt-free as possible. And what I tell students all the time is, don't let the internet decide for you. You must go on campus. If your heart skips a couple of beats, then you'll probably know this place is for you. Sometimes you got to go with your gut and your heart. But you don't get anywhere in a parked car, so drive. Make a trip out of it and see 3, 4, 5 colleges up 95. Make your way to Boston. We're 45 minutes from Boston. You can see all of us on the same route, actually. So, but the return on investment is super important for us. Is it worth it? The answer is yes, because we're keeping the tuition low. We're making it accessible, as test optional institutions are, to come in with a grade point average that will get you academic scholarships. And with that said, let me say that with a 3.25 or better, you're going to be okay. Consider this: the less babysitting you have to do, the less cutting of grass you have to do. Just read some more. Every point is worth thousands of dollars over a course of 4 years. So give it all you got and come visit. And go to the college fairs and meet people and take their business cards and use it. The human connection still counts.
Hi, everybody. My name is Alexa Rodriguez. I'm one of the admissions counselors or admissions representative for Western Connecticut State University. One big thing I usually tell students, and my family's gone through the process. My brother's a senior. My sister's in her sophomore year of college now, and stepping onto campus is your biggest, I would say, is the biggest reason to know a school. My sister wanted to go to Massachusetts. That was her goal, and she's now in the Bronx. So how we ended up in 2 different ends, I don't know, but she stepped foot right on the university. She's at the University of Mount St. Vincent right now. Stepped foot on that campus, and she goes, "This is where I'm going." My dad was like, "Are you sure?" And she's like, "Yeah." From the second she stepped foot, she knew. So that's a big thing for students. If you can't make it to the school in person, sometimes they're too far. Sometimes plans just don't work out that you can't make it. Most schools now have virtual tours. You get to see a campus virtually. They have 360 panoramas. You can see what campus looks like as a whole. There's a lot of different options for you to kind of visit campus. Social media is another big one. I run our social media for our office, so I know my student ambassadors do takeovers for us. So they take you along for the day, and you get to see what campus is like from their eyes. So that's another big reason that you can kind of see what campus life is like. And then you can kind of get to see how involved students are. You can see what's offered for students. And any school really will tell you or kind of show you what their campus is and what's unique about them, and you'll find out for each of those of what each school has to offer.
I'm gonna go this way. Evening, folks. I love the energy. We're gonna work on that, though. Before I start, firstly, I'd love to thank the office for having us here. I always love coming out and talking with students and families as they go through this process. It's a passion of mine. But before I begin talking about the question, I want to come from a place of fear, right? Because fear tends to be one of the dominant emotions that students and families experience as they navigate this process. So this is a really great opportunity for us to dispel some of that fear. And I'll show you how fear-feeling might be. Just to give me a little hand raise, just to make sure we're interacting here a little bit. Raise your hand if you're a little fearful or anxious as you go through this college process, as a student or a parent. Fabulous. I see a room full of people who are so fearful they can't even move. They're paralyzed with fear, right? It's a scary process. So we're going to talk about a couple things tonight to help dispel some of that fear as you go navigate this process. So let's talk about the fit piece, right? Firstly, before we talk about how you could discover fit, right? The one thing I want to impress upon all of you is fit's variable, right? What's a fit for me is not a fit for Joe. It's not a fit for Terry, Billy, Bobby, the whole 9 yards. We're all looking for something slightly different, right? We all want what's best for us. We want a great experience, of course. We want great outcomes. We want a great academic experience, right? But how that looks for each of us can be very different. Now, as you're working with your student, if you're a parent, as you're working with your student, one thing I want you to be very mindful of is, as your student is navigating this process, there are going to become times where the student may want something, but they don't know how to articulate it to you or their school counselor. So I'm going to ask you to be patient with your student because they're figuring things out as well as everything else in their life, okay? But firstly, start having conversations about priorities with your student, right? When I was a school counselor before I came to the dark side in higher ed, I'd have parents walk in my office and say, hey, Rye, my kid can go to any school within this 3-hour radius of home. That was their expectation. Anywhere there. Doesn't matter, cost doesn't matter, academic program doesn't matter. The kid's going to school in that bubble right there. Kid is not going to California or Florida or Alabama. That's not happening, Ryan, okay? So don't tell my kid that kind of stuff, right? Maybe that's a priority for you, maybe it's not. But having conversations as a family unit early on to discuss what your priorities are will help drive the conversation about fit, okay? And the one thing I always share with my families is you're going to have this conversation on a long enough timeline. It is inevitable. Have the conversation early and own the conversation with the expectation that you'll revisit this conversation because Billy could wake up next Tuesday and be like, I want to be a dentist, Dad. And you're like, super, right? So let's just kind of go approach it from that angle, all right? My colleagues share some really great things about the campus visit. You know, there's no second fiddle to the campus visit. It is the absolute reveal all on how a school will resonate with your student, okay? Case in point is me. When I was in high school, I wanted to go to Ohio State. I was a Buckeyes fan, unfortunately. And I made my parents drive me to Columbus. We're from New York. So we drove there. We didn't fly in those days, right? So we drove to Columbus. I was there for like 15 minutes, and I was like, this place is terrible. Thanks for the ride, Mom and Dad, right? Because in my mind, all I knew about Ohio State is what I saw on TV and what was presented to me. I was in love with an idea of an institution, not the institution itself. I ended up at a small private Catholic here in the Hudson Valley that is the complete polar opposite of Ohio State. But I didn't know I wanted that until I started visiting. So I can't impress upon each of you how important the visit is, right? Visit and visit frequently, and you don't even have to visit schools that you like for the students because your parents are probably going to drag you to a school that you didn't want to go to one of these Saturday or Sunday mornings, and you're like, Mom, I don't want to be at this stupid school. And you get to the school and you're like, wow, I actually really like this stupid school. It happened to me, okay? And it happens to dozens and dozens and dozens of students that I work with every year. So keep an open mind. Also, if you visit a school, schools are like algorithms in Netflix. If you like one school, you'll probably like a bunch of schools in their peer group, right? And not schools outside the peer group. I'll give you a case point. If you like Iona, you'll probably like Sacred Heart. You'll probably like Marist. You'll probably like Siena. If you like Binghamton, you'll probably like Stony Brook, maybe UConn, right? We all kind of fall into these little clusters, right? These little segments in our world of higher education. So visit as many schools as you possibly can. It's going to be so revealing for you and your students as you navigate this process. So that kind of takes care of the personal fit, takes care of the cultural fit, if you will. But let's talk about academics, right? That was the first thing that was posed to us. Now, how can you measure academic fit? Well, firstly, have a conversation with family and figure out like how important academics is for you. Like for some students, they're just like, I want rah-rah and sunshine. Academics will play second fiddle. I'm going to get a degree, mom and dad, but I really want to do other things, right? And that's okay, right? Everybody, there's a lot of flavors to Baskin Robbins. You can have your own thing. But have that conversation. Talk about major, right? Not every school has every major out there. If you want to be an astrophysicist, you can't just pop down to some small little art school in the Northeast and say, I want to be an astrophysicist. It doesn't happen like that. Same for engineering. You can't find engineering everywhere, or architecture. That's not everywhere either. So if you're really keen on a specific major, I want you to work with your school counseling office to discover what schools could you even start looking at for those specific programs. Now, if you want to be a psych major or you're undecided, really the whole world opens up to you, right? But if you're looking for a niche major or some majors that are not offered everywhere, you certainly want to have that conversation. And let's continue to move down that thought, right? Besides looking at major, you also want to look at, is the school fit for you academically? And what I mean by that is, could you find success not only in admissions, but also be successful there as a student? And how do you discover that early on? It's called research. And your school counseling office can certainly help you with this. Naviance is a great tool. But I want all of you to look at those schools and look at the middle 50% of their admit pool from the year before and see how your academics, GPA, test scores, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, stack up to their most recently enrolled class. That's a really great place to start the conversation. Now, if you're an outlier, a little bit on either side of that little middle 50%, it still might be a game for you. Talk to your school counseling office. But you want to start thinking about admissibility, but also long-term, thinking about success. Like, can you find success at that specific institution? So you want to look at the most recently enrolled year's statistics to figure out, is this school a school that could be a fit for you academically? Because at the end of the day, even if you could get into your dream school, but you are well below that middle 50% curve, right? Maybe you won't find success there long-term because you're just not really, the school's not a fit for you academically speaking. You're going to get lost in the shuffle, lost in the course content and materials and things of that nature. So that'd be something I'd really encourage you to do early on at this point in the game is research. Later on, that's going to evolve into conversations with professionals on campus. Now, every campus will treat this very differently, but when you go to open houses, or other campus events, you might have an opportunity to connect with students or faculty members. And I encourage you to have those conversations with them and find out, does your academic curiosity, does your academic plans fit in with what they're currently doing at their institution? And that's a really great way for you all to measure fit. Thanks.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, everyone. So as a junior right now, what should our juniors be prioritizing during that college search process? We talked about the campus visit. We talked about academic fit. Are there any other things that students should prioritize right now as they're doing this search?
Yeah, of course there is. Right fit is important. We watch our students do that research, and there's a thing called retention, and retention is a big deal in the world of college admissions. We want to retain you. We want you to stay as a student. We want to retain you and be successful and be happy and graduate on time. And by the way, one of my favorite days of the year is homecoming, and they come back all those years later and they say, we got it right. We graduated. I love that. We'll go into high schools and see students, and you watch them go through the process and make their decisions and come back. So we retain you as a student. I would say this. I would start off at the beginning, not at the end game. What am I going to do for my career? What am I going to be 10 and 20 years from now? I don't know. That's not even fair to even ask you. When so many students come to Binghamton, especially undecided, I would start with this. As a junior, what am I most passionate about learning more about? What do I want to learn more about? And because I've learned more about this, here's who I want to become. Now, that's a good place to start. And then the second part of that is this. Well, who has the best resources and the best support and the faculty and a care team? Maybe I'm struggling emotionally and I'm having anxiety. Do you have those resources for me to help me figure out who I want to become? See, that's what college is. It's about learning. When you surround yourself with people that inspire you, and you made that good choice, see, we're about to make a decision together. Seniors are, especially. They applied to a place like Binghamton, all of our college campuses, they applied. And Now the application's on our, they said, sure, you know what, I really like this. I could see myself as a student there. The application's on our desk, now it's on us to make the decision. We read the essays, we read everything. We have to make that decision, that total decision. And from that we say, yep, we're gonna admit you. And that's a mutual decision. We wanna get it right. We want you to be successful and we wanna retain you as a student. That's one of those factors that I would look at in the college search. And again, that's also done by having those conversations with current students. Just having that kind of informal conversation. You know, do you like it here? Are you happy here? Good question to ask a college student. Do you feel like you get the support that you need if you're struggling? That's a good question to ask a college student, authentically. We're not paying them. They're just going to be sincere with you. So apart from the formal campus tours, those experiences with authentic conversations is going to be a big part of help you to make sure you make the right decision.
I would say, I'd add to that by suggesting that right now, you're here tonight because you're taking advantage of an opportunity to begin the process. The process involves time. Time management is important. Realize how much time it takes to make a good decision. A decision that will ultimately make you happy. Make you happy. And I think that's something that a lot of students sometimes forget about their happiness because they get so stuck on deciding on a major. I'd like you to be put at ease right away that it's okay to be undecided. It's okay to be undeclared. Don't rush that process because once you begin the college experience, you may change your mind 2 or 3 times. The goal is for us to expand your worldview by taking advantage of all that the university has to offer. Go on trips, go overseas, smell something different, eat something different, and meet different people, and realize that these things all count. But time management is important. There's nothing worse than making a decision in your senior year because you have to, without doing the proper research. Thank you.
I'm just gonna take it now because you just put it back. One thing I will say that I learned from when I was in the college process, but I joke about all the time when I'm at college fairs and I'm talking to students and their parents is financial aid is one of the biggest things. That's the one thing mom and dad always worry about first. How much am I paying? How much debt are we about to be in? Do we have to pull out a second mortgage? At least that's the joke my dad now tells my brother because my brother doesn't like doing the college process. I get on him about it, but it is a big thing. You do have to get ahead. Financial aid is a big thing, and I know for Western especially, but I'm sure every school and every university and college will try and help you in any way, shape, or form. FAFSA opens up in October, so for you guys it'll be the October of 2026, which is weird to think that we're already there. But the other thing, one of the main thing is they help you out. There's grants, there's scholarships. You don't know, sometimes there's Pell Grants. One thing I learned that I didn't know was I was a first generation college student. So neither of my parents went to college. So I was going into this blind. I had no idea what I was doing. But I had the help of my high school counselors, and that's what they're here for. And I went to Danbury High. I was born in Danbury, Connecticut. So for me, they were there for me all the way through. They helped me out. But they do help you out. And there's scholarships for everything. I am 5 feet tall. I wear really thick-heeled boots, so I look taller. When I'm on the road, they call them my big girl boots because I do finally, everyone can see me over all the pull-ups of all the stands and stuff. So that's the joke everyone has with me. But I didn't know there's a scholarship for being 5 feet tall. There's a scholarship for everything. There's a Coca-Cola scholarship, McDonald's, Dr. Pepper. My sister applied for that one. She's obsessed with Dr. Pepper. There's a bunch of scholarships that you can get. And your financial aid office with every university, whatever school you attend to, will take those scholarships, and that's extra money for you. And sometimes those scholarships are renewable. With Western, we have university scholarships. We have our merit scholarships. One thing that I do tell students is we offer a tri-state rate at Western. So Connecticut, New York, and New Jersey all pay in-state tuition. So I usually tell students, if you're thinking of living on campus, that's great, because we also offer housing scholarships. We offer university scholarships. So as a freshman, you can get it, and then you can keep applying to it every year after that. And not every student knows that. But any scholarships you get outside from schools too, your high school gives them. I'm sure if you have a job, if you're working, sometimes some jobs will give them, depending. But you can always look for them. They're always out there. And that's one thing that's really big is financial aid, your FAFSA. If you ever need help filling it out, my first time, it was the most confusing thing in the entire world. I think it's a little easier now, or so I heard. But my financial aid office, definitely we do it. You can set up appointments. You can come in and we will help you figure out everything, how to process it. If you can't come in person, we do virtual appointments too, where they will sit with you and go open up the FAFSA. You share your screen and they'll tell you, okay, this is what this means when you fill this out. This is what you need to click on. And we have, they have estimators, so they can kind of give you an estimate of how much financial aid you'll get. But we also send packages and all that, and every school will, so you can see in detail what everything is. And you learn the differences between all the names of loans, Pell Grants, and all things like that.
So folks, ditto to everything my colleagues have said. I'll just chime in on just a couple of things. First and foremost, I like to distill things down to a simplest form. You're juniors now, right? I want you to prioritize your academics, right? Some students had a slower start at the beginning of high school and they had an upward trend. We look at trends on transcripts, and if your grades are in the gutter or your grades are not where you want them to be, it's not too late. So I want you to prioritize academics. There's nothing that will help you more than having really good grades or better grades as you navigate the college process. I want you to prioritize time for your testing for the college boards or ACT, whatever your preference is. Prioritize that testing, prioritize your study for those things, because that can unlock great opportunity for you in the admissions realm. It can also unlock some financial aid for you to have as well as you navigate the process. Speaking of financial aid, a great resource I'd love you all to check out. It's called the Net Price Calculator. In the biz, we call it the NPC. Every school has to publish an NPC. We all got one. You can Google's your friend in this scenario, Google Harvard University NPC, Pepperdine NPC, Iona NPC, and so forth, right? And that NPC will give you a net price calculator. It's going to give you a shot in the dark on how much that school could cost you and your family. Now, it's not like the Bible, right? It's not going to be a hard and fast rule. That's what you're going to pay by any stretch. It's not the law, but it's an estimate. And I want the students, or at the very least, you and your partner as parents, to have conversations about what that cost is. And are you like a deer in headlights? Like, oh my God, like I can't pay $70,000. There's no one number that's bad. There's only numbers that are bad to you, right? So whether it's 10K, 20K, 30K, 40K, 50K, 60K, whatever the number is, I want you and your family, or at least the parents, to have a conversation about, is this remotely possible, right? Yes, no. And then have a conversation with your school counseling office. That's a really great place to have the conversation. And again, just like I said earlier, this conversation is inevitable. You will have this conversation before you conclude the college search process. So it's best to really own it now, because it will ease the friction you would experience later on. Because the seniors I work with in April of their senior year, when they're admitted to their dream school and they finally decide I want to go there, and they're like, Mom, Dad, mail in a deposit, right? And they're like, whoa. You didn't actually like that school until a week ago. I thought you wanted to go to the other school with a smaller price tag. And the kid's like, no. I want to go to this school. That's when parents have palpitations, right? So start having these conversations now. Call in your school counseling office as early as possible. And again, just because the net price calculator gives you a higher number doesn't mean you're going to pay it, but I want you all to flirt with the idea in the realm of possibility of what it could cost you to attend specific institutions.
Okay, that was great. A lot of information so far. When we're talking about demonstrated interest, what are the best ways to demonstrate your interest in your institution, and how does that all get considered in the admissions process?
Well, Joe's reversing it over here. You guys give me back to back. How cool is that? So demonstrated interest. Let's define the term first. So demonstrated interest is meaningfully engaging with an institution. Okay, that's all it is in its simplest form. Not every school looks at demonstrated interest. right? So here's something really cool about schools. When you come and visit and you sit in the front, as you should, missed opportunities for you all, because we're going to give out scholarships today, so better luck next time, okay? When you sit in the front and you go for a visit, you can raise your hand and say, excuse me, do you track demonstrated interest, and do you take it into account for your admissions process? And the person in the front room is going to say simply yes or no, right? You can ask schools if we leverage demonstrated interest. I can tell you whether or not we use it in the admissions process. Every one of us can track it. Okay, we have really sophisticated software in higher ed these days. I can track a student the moment they hit my CRM or my data system from their freshman year of high school. And I can see how many times they hit my website, what they click on. I can track an IP address. I can see if you open my emails, my phone calls, and it goes on, right? And if you can track it in my idea, you can measure it. So even though a school doesn't currently measure it this year, they might measure it next year as they try to predict their yield, okay? So that's demonstrated interest in a nutshell. We track, or we can track, how students meaningfully engage with us. Now, what are some ways that we measure it? I've rattled off a bunch over there. Here are a few more ways that you can demonstrate interest as a student. You can email us. You can call your admissions representative. You can come to a high school visit or a mini fair here at Mahopac High School, or maybe the fair over at Northern Westchester BOCES, and sign an inquiry card. That's a really great way to demonstrate interest. You can do an interview. That's a great way. You can visit. We've said that a couple times today. That's one of the big ways you can demonstrate interest. You know, I track visits, non-visits on my campus all the time, okay? Here's the numero uno way that you can demonstrate interest. You can apply early decision. We haven't got to decision plans yet, but early decision is an application plan. When you apply ED, think of it as like a marriage proposal, right? You're saying, will Stout take me to be your student? And if they say yes and you say yes, you live happily ever after, right? That's early decision, right? Even schools that say they don't track demonstrated interest, who have early decision, look at demonstrated interest, because there's no bigger demonstrated interest than committing yourself wholeheartedly to an institution and forsaking the 4,000 other schools in the United States, right? So those are some of the ways that students demonstrate interest. The one thing I'll share is at Iona, we do track it. My previous institutions did track it as well. I was at Sacred Heart University as their director of admission for a bunch of years. I was at Manhattanville University prior to that. We track demonstrated interest across the board. Not every school tracks it, so you can ask the question whether or not that we do.
That's a very interesting way to put it. I like it.
With the ED?
Yeah, the ED. I like it. I'm gonna have to use that now.
You can totally use it. Just
Awesome.
no credit. You can
No credit? Good. I can let Lou know.
let loose.
Awesome.
You can use it right now if you want. Try it out for size.
No, thanks. I'm good. So for Western, we haven't figured it out. I don't have the most experience out of everybody here. I call myself the baby of my office because this is my third year being a counselor. But one thing I will say, demonstrated interest is a big thing, obviously. What I do is I'm terrible with names. I can see your face at a college fair, and then you come and visit, and I'm going to look at you across the room and be like, wait, I know that kid. I saw that kid at this fair, at this date, or whatever. Sometimes when applications come and I see your names, I try my best to link it, but if I see your name, and obviously, as Ryan said, we can see when you come and visit. That's my connections, and sometimes we try to see. When you ask for scholarship reconsiderations at Western, we do those. Sometimes that's another thing we take a look at if you're looking to ask for more money. You really hit everything. It's hard now. You guys got anything?
Yeah, he's got it.
Leave it to Joe.
Ryan. Good job, Ryan. Listen, I think, so the question is, well, why? Why do we do this, right? And think about it, in the world of college admissions, we want to designate our resources to where they go. If I have a student that said, hey, Joe, I'm really interested, they emailed me, and I know this student, and they've taken campus tours, and they've come to the open houses, and we've developed a relationship. I know that student. I know that if I were to give that student an offer of admissions, that they would accept it. I know that. If you have student A and student B, that they're academically identical, their essays, the whole parts of that application is equal. Well, of course, I'm going to extend that offer to that student that I know is going to accept it. And it goes back to what I said earlier, it's retention. If I see that enthusiasm from that student, that demonstrated interest, when I offer them that spot, I feel like they're going to stay, and they're going to be happy, and they know us really well. So, it just kind of makes sense that you want to make sure you get into that admissions counselors' emails and you shake that hand, and then I go back to saying, don't be shy. This is not a time to be shy. It's a time to reinvent yourself. And demonstrated interest is a really good way to do that.
All right. So just a thought, before you guys leave here tonight, it might not be a bad idea to come on down and meet our reps and shake a hand and introduce yourself, right? All right, let's talk a little bit about how a student can stand out in the admissions process. What are the qualities or characteristics that make an applicant stand out in your admissions process?
In our admissions process, the essay is obviously going to be the standout. The other thing that's going to be a standout is the quality of courses that you are taking. A 3.5, a 3.8, 4.0, with a dynamite essay, with something that we look towards, because one of the things I look at is someone, a student, who could become a participant in our Difference Makers organization. And the reason why I bring it up is because of the landscape of our culture right now and higher ed. I push a lot of students, especially who go into engineering and biomedical field especially, to become entrepreneurs. Think of yourself as entrepreneurs. If you don't know the word, understand that it means that you are going to be doing some critical thinking as to what you're going to do to make you happy, not for the rest of your life, but for a good chunk of your life, because things are going to change. And the one thing that universities who have a liberal arts foundation do well is prepare you for change. They should. Even if you're going the pre-professional route, we prepare you for change. And that change, what we want to do is understand that being happy, being ethical counts. So what I do is I look for people who are going to be able to join the Difference Makers. This affords them the opportunity to work with faculty in the first 2 years and other students, their peers. And if selected, faculty will become involved and they will take your essay, they will take your idea, they will take your patent and share with 200 of our corporate affiliates. Once they look at it, if you're selected, they will give you $50,000 at the end of your sophomore year. Those are the kinds of things that we want from our students. We want students, I don't want to say think out of the box, because they got to. In engineering, you have to think out of the box all the time. But students who have great ideas and want to challenge themselves and work as a team within a community that is a Research One university, that is a return on investment, we've been voted, not named, I should say, by Washington Post and the Times as the best return of investment in Massachusetts, #1 school in Massachusetts for return on investment. And that is huge. It's huge for us, because if you're successful, you're going to give back to us. You know, we want your money when you're successful. You know, we do. That's, you know, we're nonprofit, so we know what it's like to turn people into great stars, and we want you to become a star. Writing on your essay, being unique is being unique. Don't go comma crazy. Use spell check. Let other people read it, and make it unique. I remember when I was at Tufts University at the Veterinary College, I remember I would get so many applications, not close to 1,000, but the point is there were only 52 seats and very few veterinary colleges in the United States. And our dean required an essay and GREs, not the MCATs, the medical school. He was a wonderful dean who knew what he was doing when he required the graduate record exam instead of the medical college exam. And the essay was the deciding factor all the time. And if the essay began something like this, it all started when my parents got me my first dog. You're done. You're done. You're done. You know? I mean, out of 850 applications, everybody's got a 3.9, everybody's got a 4.0, everybody's coming out of great schools, everybody's got great recommendations. But what is it that's going to stand you out? Not that, because that's what every veterinary school, every student that was in veterinary school had a companion animal sometime or another. But what is it that you're going to do in the animal world that's going to make you different? What is it that you're going to do in the engineering world that's going to make you different? So think about that while you got time right now to think about what is it that makes you unique amongst others. Anybody?
I'll hop in real quick. I get this question all the time. I would share with you, there's no silver bullet that every school is looking for, right? I remember when I was going through the college process, they're like, oh, you got to play lacrosse. You play lacrosse, and that was like your ticket to wherever you wanted to go. Those days have long since passed, right? Because every school is looking for something different, and we're building a class, right? So at Iona University, I'm relatively small compared to UMass and Binghamton, right? I'm enrolling 1,000 students per year, right? I have about 5K, 4K, 5K, all in at my institution. So we're a medium school. We'll go with that language. And yet I'm still admitting hundreds of students to my class who are artistic, hundreds of students to my class who want leadership, hundreds of students who are looking for an academic rigorous program. I'm building a well-rounded class, and each of us, and there's not a dean, VP, or AVP in the nation who's not trying to build a class that's rounded in some fashion, right? And each institution has its own mission and characteristics. We publish them. It's not just on our website. The admissions office is charged by the board to execute that vision of the institution, right? So what I would tell you to do is go to the school's website, read the mission, see what they say the mission and vision statement are, but look at the photography. Look at the media that they have on the website. What is their official social brand? What are the social media sites showing you pictures of, right? Because what they're signaling to you is the importance of some things on campus, right? So I would kind of lean into that. I would also ask your admissions rep, like, what's important to you all, right? I'll do a quick straw poll. Does anybody here play bagpipes? Okay, I expected that. There's this thing, it's called YouTube. You can learn how to do anything, like fix your furnace, play bagpipes. At Iona University, playing bagpipes is a thing, right? Will it get you admitted if you have a 2.0 average? It will not, right? But it does help you through the process because we look for pipers. We have the #1 pipe program in New York City St. Patrick's Day Parade. It's a thing as part of our culture. It's a mission for us to find more pipers, right? We're looking for performers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Other schools might have a VP stroll into their office and say, I want more kids who are left-handers, right? I've heard weirder things in my career, right? So we go out that year to find more left-handed kids. So talk with your admissions counselor about what's important to them at that time, because it may not be the same from the year before. The year before, they could have crashed and got too many left-handers. Now they want right-handers. And they're going to auto-correct this year because they have to balance out their campus, right? So connect with each campus, do some research, ask questions about what's important to each individual school, because I guarantee you it's not going to be the same for all of us. Outside of academics, right? Like academics, like let's pull that out of the conversation. We're all looking for students who are high quality, but even that can mean something. So research and find out the middle 50%, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Joe?
I agree, and I think, it is about right fit in the end. Think about it academically. What makes you stand out? Well, I want to be an engineering student. That's good. Let's see how your calculus is doing, right? Dad's an accountant, grandpa's an accountant. We're a family of accountants. But I hate math. That's not going to work out. So what are you passionate about learning more about? It's all about the right fit. What makes you stand out? Exactly. That application is really just a venue of communication. We're going to look at that holistically. That's one of the questions we're going to talk about. Everything matters. Everything matters in that application. And are we making the good decision together? So when I say academically, of course. Are you taking any AP classes? Sure, that'll make you stand out, right? How about college-level courses at, a community college or somewhere? Sure, do real well. That's going to strengthen your application. Those are all pieces academically that we look for. They say that student academically knows it. And then we look at everything. It all matters, right? It's all about the right fit. And again, it goes back to saying, if I admitted you, would you stay, and would you be happy, and would you be successful?
All right, let's move to holistic applications and how you are evaluating those applications holistically, and what does it look like in practice?
Great. I'm drawing a complete blank. We make fun of my name and Alexa knows everything. This one doesn't.
Alexa.
Yes. Yep. My house, our Alexa is now named Echo because the one day my mom told me to check the washer, it almost bought us one. I've never seen my dad fly down a set of stairs screaming, "No! To cancel it, it's going to charge my card." So now we have Echo in our house.
Do you want me to start it?
Yes, please. 'Cause
Okay. All right, so when we're talking about holistic, it's important to know that when I say holistic, everything matters, right? It's not just the academics piece, the transcript. It's going to be important. When I'm reading a transcript, and anyone knows, we're reading a transcript, that's almost like a narrative. That's your story. You know, I go back to saying, I want to be an English major. I want to be a nurse. What do my sciences look like? What do my biology grades? What does my chemistry look like? You know, is it the right fit? If we admit you, would you stay? Holistically, think about the college essay. You know, again, Donato talked about it. That essay is so important. There's your opportunity to tell your story. And we read them. Binghamton had 65,000 applications last year for 3,100 spots. That's it. We got to get it right. Academically, we're there. Right fit. Your story, the essay, and do our stories match? You know, take your time. The biggest question when I come back here to visit you in the fall as a senior will be, hey, Joe, I'm working on my college essay. My application's almost ready, but, you know, I'm still in the process. Take your time. I know you're going to do a workshop on that. We look at them. We take those essays seriously. You know, sometimes I'll be in a committee with my colleagues, and we'll be around a table, and we'll be looking at student A, who is absolutely brilliant, and student B, same major, same everything. Both are brilliant. They're equal. And then I pull out the college essay, and I say, but you got to hear the story. And I love that. You know, we talk a lot about how do our stories match, and would you stay? Letter of recommendation. Well, that's a big part of it, too. What are your teachers and what are your counselors saying about you academically, apart from that? Now, I'm going to start off with, also continue with this phrase of saying, you know, we're all different. We're all going to be different. So it depends, too. Some schools require one letter of recommendation, two. So, you know, knowing who that school is and what their priorities are is going to be an important part of that next piece. Tag.
So, again, keeping it simple, holistic missions, we're looking at all the material that's provided to us, right? So we're looking at your application, we're looking at your transcript, board scores if available, usually 2 letters of recommendation. That means a teacher of rec and a counselor letter of recommendation. You should bring them chocolate and donuts, the counselors up here. Your essay, an interview, if applicable, and supplemental materials. Did I leave anything out? But those are the things we're typically looking at, okay? For holistic missions, we look at all of those things when making decisions. Now, a lot of us are holistic, a lot of us are not. So just like when you are asking about one of the other things we talked about this evening, and you sit in front of the room and you go for a visit, you can raise your hand and say, hey, are you a holistic admissions office? They're going to raise their, you know, they're going to shake their head yes or shake their head no, simply answering your question. Because there are schools out there that if you have the GPA and the test scores and you come from the right township, you're in. They just check the box and boop, off you go, right? Other schools, it's much more complex, right? And that looks very differently at a lot of different schools. Schools guard how they admit their students, kind of like their KFC recipe or Coca-Cola syrup recipe. But I'll kind of distill down what I believe most schools do and what I do at my institution. So firstly, we go through the application. What are the academics, right? So that's the first conversation that we're having. Academics get you to the next part of the table, right? If you don't qualify academically, that's where your journey stops with us usually, okay? Then I discover who the student is, right? We discover who the student is in their milieu right now, right? Then we discover what the student has done, right? And then we start thinking about what the student will do, right? Those are 4 questions that we tend to think about through the holistic admissions process, and that really oftentimes allows us to discover if or if not, that student would fit with what we're trying to build at our home institutions. So that's like holistic admissions in a nutshell. And to really answer those questions, we have to rely on essays and teacher letter recommendations and statements, interviews, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We rely on that data set there to help us answer those questions through the process.
Just remember that communication is transactional. That is, you know, if I talk, I expect you to talk back. If I send you a letter, I expect you to send me something back. If I email you, you should send something back. It's got to work that way. This is the way we get to know each other, and if you start the process, and you're courageous enough to start the process, because having taught interpersonal communication for the last 25 years, I know that students are sometimes afraid to look people in the eye and talk or shake hands. We know that this is a problem, but you got to break out of that, because sooner or later you're going to be working with teams, and you're going to be working with other people, and people, we're not androids yet. And even with artificial intelligence coming into our world, we're learning to work with AI in very creative ways. It's not a hindrance. It's going to be an asset as long as it's used for the good and not for the bad. But keep it transactional. You're going to get plenty of linear when you come to college, which is I talk and you just listen.
All right,
That's it.
thank you. That was good advice. Just going back to the holistic application, how do you consider the extracurricular activities or leadership roles in that admission process?
I could do that one. One thing that we take a look at is we do want to see that you're involved and that you do many things. You work, you're in part of clubs, if you do a sport, if you play an instrument, whatever it may be. That's one thing we do take a look at. That's one thing I love to see. Growing up, I was a kid that wasn't as involved, and then in college I became secretary of like 3 clubs and all that, which I opened up more in college, because college, you're a completely different person. You're basically starting from scratch. No one knows you. You may know a few people if it's a well-known school, but extracurriculars and leadership opportunities is a big thing. With Western, what we want to look at is, trying to remember the word, the longevity of it. If you started in a club and then you were with it all 4 years and became president, well, I would love to see that. I see students that have a long list of things. They've tried different things all around every year. They're like, oh, I'm going to add this to my schedule, and I'm going to add this on top of it. Sometimes, depending on the person, it can be too much. But sometimes it is nice to have a shorter list to see, okay, yeah, you do work. Sometimes it may be to help mom and dad pay bills. I've seen that sometimes. But sometimes it can be you're saving up for college. That's your own college fund. You're putting your foot forward towards that. We do see that. Being involved in clubs and organizations, not only in high school, out in the community as well. One thing I do connect with students is community service, because at Western we do a day of service. The entire university shuts down for an entire day. Staff, I myself, go out into the Danbury community and we do stuff. This past year we did it, and I went to the Danbury Museum. I have not been to the Danbury Museum since I was 5. So going back there was really blast from the past for me. But we got to go in, and actually I got to be inside the Marian Anderson house again. I got to look at all her wardrobes and what she used to wear. While I was cleaning, I was listening to her music. We had students that were going to the elementary schools and reading to kids. They were cleaning up garages. But it was a way for our university to be as a whole together. But those extracurriculars is what we look for, because sometimes it's your way to connect with the schools. It's your way to connect with certain universities. Kind of like Ryan said before, is with the bagpipes. My brother is looking at Iona, so that's how I attended those bagpipes. Really cool, actually. It's a really cool thing. If you can check it out, if you go to Iona and they have it, it's awesome. But that's one thing that those extracurriculars can do for you.
One thing I'll say, and I'll keep it succinct, there's not an admissions dean in the country that wants you to do less in high school, right? Like, everybody loves activities. We all love community service and leadership and et cetera. There's no silver bullet again. It's going to be different at every institution. The one caveat I'd share with you all is don't participate in extracurricular or co-curricular activities at the expense of your academics, right? Sometimes students will come to me and be like, hey, Ryan, I totally would have done better, but you're like, I like to play football, or whatever it is, right? Like, I like to do yearbook, or I like to do media. Like, don't let your academics suffer because of your over-involvement in certain programming. We want you to be honest. We look for depth. We look for breadth. Over time, that matters for us greatly. And we also look for maybe an alignment with maybe an academic interest. So if you're maybe planning on engineering, and you have an opportunity to participate in like an engineering club or like a robotics club, or you did like a summer program for engineers, that also will sometimes resonate with us as well. And I want students to be very thoughtful, right? It doesn't have to be an official co-curricular activity sanctioned by your town or your school. If you are taking part in elder care or sibling care in your household, I want you to put that stuff down too, because what we're looking for is responsibility. And we're looking for students who are responsible for themselves and potentially responsible for others and responsible for their actions. So that oftentimes it translates very well through the admissions process.
Yeah, and I think the question is, well, why? Why are we doing this? And you know, by the way, it doesn't have to be a litany of I've done all these things and necessarily I've been the president and the vice presidents and so on. No. I love when students say, here's what I've done and here's what I've learned and here's who I want to become. And those are fantastic essays. You do them for experiential learning, right? Beyond the academic piece, the activities there say, maybe I helped coach, or maybe I did, here's what I've learned. Those are time to develop your story, students. It's the time to do it, absolutely. And think about it, when you're in college, you're gonna wanna do a lot of great things. And I hope you study abroad, hope you do internships and job shadowing, and you learn so much even beyond the academic piece. But you gotta get good grades. The same thing with your application process. What have you done? All these curricular activities, and what have you learned? And then, did you get really good grades? And do our stories match? And it goes back to saying, are we making this decision together correctly, and would you stay and would you be happy?
Anybody who was involved in the Annie show last year, what was it, Annie? Was it last year that you did Annie?
Yeah.
Those are very important things. I want to be a pre-med major, but I want drama. You know, I want to be a psych major, but I play violin. You know, those things do count, you know, and they count at places where you can play violin. I had a doctor one time who actually left medical school to come back to us as a music major. And then I've had a mother pull away a student from me while we were talking theater and music, just pull the student away while she was talking to me because you're not going to be an artist. But, you know, I don't like breaking people's dreams that early. You know, you need to, things blossom, things bloom, and during college, your extracurricular activities should be enhanced. Come to us as an Eagle Scout, come to us as a nurse's aide, come to us prepared to tell us what you are doing right now, and then you can make it better when you get to our place.
All right. So I know we talked a little bit about SAT and academics. Does anyone want to discuss a little bit about how your institution approaches test optional admissions?
We're blind. We're blind.
Okay.
Yep.
So at Iona, we're test optional, meaning we give the students the option to present their scores to us or not. We're going to continue to be test optional for as long as I'm at Iona, right? We went test optional back in 2019. I foresee us being test optional for I hope, a very long time. Nevertheless, I acknowledge openly that test scores can be a very important part of the college process. Every student should have scores, right? Because you never know when you might need them, okay? If a student, the biggest question oftentimes faced with students and families, they ask me two questions. They're like, well, if a student doesn't give you your scores, you automatically assume that they are terrible scores. And the second question, and probably the most popular one, Joe, you probably get this one a lot too, right? They'll say, well, if you have 2 students and only 1 seat, right, which never happens in higher ed, right? Like it's just really a fantasy. But I'll talk through that. So the big question a lot of families have is, are they disadvantaged by not presenting their scores? Okay? The most important thing you should do as you go through the college process is research their most recently enrolled class and figure out what their range or their middle 50% were of scores for the most recently enrolled class. That bell curve will tell you everything that you need to know, okay? And if you want to know if you're disadvantaged or not to a specific institution that says they're test optional, you can ask the following question. I'll say it twice just so you can write it down. You ask them this question. You say, in your most recently enrolled class, what was the percentage of students who submitted their SAT scores? In your most recently enrolled class, what was the percentage of students who submitted their SAT scores? If you get a number that's 90%, let me tell you something. They might be test optional, but they're signaling that tests matter. If you get a number like 15%, the opposite is true. 50-50, flip a coin, right? So that's a really powerful thing to know, and you can learn that through the data. Ask questions from your admissions counselor. They oftentimes might not be able to guide you. They can say, this is our range, but they're not going to say submit this or not submit that. Your admissions counselor can't do that. Your school counselor can absolutely do that because they can look at Naviance and that scatter plot and take a look at how students from Mahopac High School have fared at that specific institution with your scores over the past decade or so.
Yeah, let me piggyback on that. I mean, students come to me and say, you know, I don't think I'll take that test, Joe, because I'm not a good test taker. And I say, well, you know, when you're in college, you got to take tests, so I want you to become a good test taker. So take it and do real well on it. In fact, Binghamton super scores it. And you know what I mean by that? If you take it and you take it a couple of times, we'll take the best of the best, and that will be your composite score. And then in the end, you say, you know, I took it, I worked hard on that. It does not reflect me. It does not fall in the mid-ranges of what you're looking for. I choose not to submit it. Or the other way, I worked hard on that. I got my scores up. It reflects me very well. Of course I want to submit it. It's your choice. Prior to COVID, the state university system, that was not the case at all, that you were required to submit SAT scores in the application. Now it's optional. That's good. It can only help you. In fact, you know, just to piggyback on that too, Binghamton, half the students submit it, half did not. We find creative ways to make sure that we are the right fit. You know, it's not all about, when I say holistic, it's not just about one piece, it's about all those pieces. So if you choose not to take that SAT or ACT, that's okay, that's your choice, it truly is. But we'll look at other ways within that transcript, or whether it's an AP score or a Regents score, we'll look at ways to say, you know, academically, if we admitted this student at Binghamton, would they stay and would they be successful?
With Western, we are SAT optional. We leave it up to students, your choice, kind of what you want to do. The only required SAT is for our merit scholarships. And that's our presidential merit. That's your full tuition and fees. I will pay for all that. You need a 1340 with a 92 GPA. So, but we'll take a look at everything and we let you know. For us, we have both options. Whether you send in your scores or you don't, we're gonna try and help you any way we can. But across the board, whether it comes to a certain major, you need an SAT score or anything like that, we're SAT optional. We leave it up to students. We'll take a look at everything else.
Real quick, I neglected to mention, caveat, some schools might say they were test optional, but there might be some programs that are not. Engineering or nursing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So do your due diligence and research to find out not just if the school is test optional, but the academic program of your choice is test optional as well.
Thank you, Ryan, for adding that. I think we have time for one last question, and I think it would be good just to talk a little bit about what are the common mistakes that students make on their applications that they should avoid.
Oh, I do have one. With your essays, if you're gonna write the college's name in it and you submit it, make sure you put the right college that you're submitting to. I've seen that a couple times. I've actually gotten a couple of Ionas, and UMass I think have been a couple I've seen across. That's one thing I do definitely see.
I think, so here's the thing. I think it's so important to make sure, is Donald's communication is so critical. You know, I think beyond, if I can give you any advice, I'm working with seniors right now, is make sure you're checking your emails or anything we send to you. So important. If we're missing an item, we want to follow up, or sometimes we're even calling students, hey, you're missing some items. Be diligent about that because you've applied and we want to give you a decision. So communication, nothing more discouraging than saying, you know, I reached out to you 17 times and you never submitted, I have to deny you now. So not to end on a negative, but I think truly the piece that I would give you, other than the visit right now, is to make sure you're following up with emails and we're communicating really well with each other.
As far as mistakes in the application, one, don't fill it out on your phone. That's just a terrible idea. Sit down on a PC or you know, Apple, Mac, whatever, and do it on a computer. That will help you tremendously. And don't rush the process. Pay attention to your deadlines. Make sure you submit your application on time for admission consideration and also for merit-based scholarship consideration. Okay. When you go through your essay, make sure the content, there's clarity, there's correctness, and there's some creativity. I call it the 4 C's. They're not diamonds, but it's your essay 4 C's. Those are things that you really want to pay attention to when it comes to your essay. But take your time. If you have the opportunity to start working on this stuff in August when the Common App goes live, I would encourage you to do so. The biggest mistake I see students make is they just try to rush through their application, either because they procrastinated due to anxiety or because they're just anxious to begin with. They just want to get through it as fast as possible. So do take your time. Just make sure everything's submitted on time.
All right, I would just say any final thoughts from our reps to our families that you think would be helpful for them as they start the process?
Yeah, one of my favorite days of the year absolutely is move-in day. I watch our students move in and the excitement, the enthusiasm, and the emotions, and it's so important to know that, we made the right fit. We're going to take care of your child. We learned that during COVID dramatically, that if we aren't caring for our children, for our students and your children, then we're not doing our job. See that they have a good care team. Mental health issues, anxiety, it's test time, and I watch the stress levels just rise. A good question to ask, what do you have in place to take care of my students? And then who do I contact? More importantly, make sure your student is empowered with that information. College is never a time to be shy. Be brave. Raise your hand in front of a class with 300 people in it and ask the question and be confident. And then follow up and say, I guess I need help now, and I'm going to go and sit down with that faculty member and take advantage of those office hours. Does the school have the ability for me to do that? Can I get to my teachers easily here? By the way, one bit of information that I would love for you guys, get yourself a little notebook. Almost jot down your thoughts. Almost journal when you're on your college campus tours. Because when it's come time to apply in the fall, you might mix the information, be organized. So jot down your thoughts. This school had the majors that I wanted. It felt like this. They were friendly. Whatever that means for you, they had the resources that I needed to be successful. That bit of information is going to help you when you go to I'm working with seniors right now, and they're about to make very big decisions in their lives. We want to get it right. So your time to do that is now, guys.
One thing I will tell students, and it goes back to what we said in the beginning, is campus visits is a big thing. You can go whenever you'd like. We have tours, and I'm sure all of us do have tours that run twice a day. At Western, we do them at 10:30 in the morning and do them at 1:30 in the afternoon. Visit multiple times too, because I usually tell students, if you're going to start, especially as juniors, you can start now, start in the summer. The best time we usually see students is your spring break. You got a whole week. I've had families that come through, they're like, oh, I'm just passing by, so we just decided to make a pit stop through. Sure, come on by. You'll see different things throughout the year. So summers, winters, typically pretty quiet because none of our students are there, but definitely come for like open house. You'll kind of get a feel of that. Visit campus in between. I have 18 student ambassadors that work in my office. So there's a chance you're gonna get a variety of different students. I have Bachelor of Fine Arts. I have, for our Visual Performing Arts School, I have nursing students. I have marketing students, management students. Kind of within our range, we open it up as a job on campus for students, but that's also an opportunity for those of you that are looking at Western, hey, what made you choose it? We have a student right there that can answer that question for you. One cool fact I love about Western and our admissions office is out of our 10 counselors, 8 of us are alumni of Western, including myself. So we've all been in your shoes. We all went to Western, but that's another cool fact that I learned that most schools do have. The admissions office are alumni sometimes as well. They'll tell you all the cool things that they did as students, and some things may have changed throughout the years. New buildings have been made, things have changed a little bit, but you do get to see the progression of everything. You get to hear people's stories then, and they get to see it now and see that difference.
For the families in the room, I got a couple pieces of advice. First and foremost, for families, have a little fun with this process. This seems daunting. It is daunting, but have some fun. As a parent, this might be one of the last opportunities you have to spend some significant time with your student, driving around the Northeast or a little farther out. So do enjoy it. Visit campuses, grab a Cuban sandwich, hit Miami University. It's really fun. It's a really special time in your life. More practical advice. Okay, I want you guys to go to a public domain like Google. Go to Google. Create a new email address on this account. It could be ryangoestocollege@gmail.com. And you're going to utilize this public domain for the college search, right? Use it for testing, use it for applications, use it for everything. Why? Because one of the biggest challenges families have through the college process is communication. Kid doesn't talk to parents, parents don't talk to kid, and round we go, right? let's just get out there, folks. Colleges communicate a lot with students, and sometimes it doesn't quite make it to the parents. So if you're on a public domain together, two benefits. One, everybody's on the same page. Two, it keeps all the junk mail that I'm sending you out of your other inboxes, right? So it really helps from a lot of different spaces to do just that. And when you're on the public domain, I want you to open up a Google Sheet. And on the Google Sheet, you can list your colleges by row and any other metric by column. And then I'm a geek. I don't know if you can tell. And then you put some tabs at the bottom, right? Tabs for maybe net price cost. You can put some tabs at the bottom for visit or cost of attendance or admission, whatever you want to do. But you all can track that stuff together because it will help ease the friction providing you're communicating with each other. And you can bring that Google Sheet to your counseling appointment, and they can really help you get the most from the time with your school counselor here at the school too. So I do hope you leverage that advice and track your progress through this on like a public domain account.
Students, you're going to be asking yourselves a lot of questions. A lot of questions. And realize that to know that you do not know is the first sign of wisdom, right? The great philosopher said that for a reason. So you keep asking questions. If you're not at home, you've got these marvelous counselors here. They provide tons of information for you, and I know that if they don't know, they call me. They call us. It happens all the time. But realize that you do not know everything. It's okay to ask questions and keep an open mind that your mindset can change from semester to semester at this point, and that's okay. Just think. Just keep thinking. Thank you.
Oh, one other thing. You're going to be doing college fairs a lot. One thing I learned, which I thought was pretty cool, is if you have terrible handwriting or your mom's there at the college fair and she's like, you better stand there and write it legibly, because we do tend to put it in our system. I make my student workers do it. But if you want, create labels. Literally get a label, put it in the printer, label it. Your name, your high school, your address, your phone number, because it's typically what we ask for within the inquiry cards. And you can literally peel it off the sheet, put it right on the inquiry card. We'll love it because we'll be able to read it. But then it's easier for you and your hand's not cramping because you have to write with however many college fairs you go to. Your hand's not cramping for writing all the information out.
That's a good one, Alexa. I like that one. Thank you. All right, I want to take this time now to open up for questions. If anyone here has a question for our reps or for our counselors, this is the time. Any questions from our audience?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, over here, like in school, we do like civic seal, we do 200 hours community service to get like ribbons. How effective would that be for college?
Good. Very effective. Very effective, yes.
Yeah,
It shows involvement. Yeah.
And then we would ask you, well, what did you learn from it?
Yeah.
And then who do you want to become because of it? So you get the pattern. So the more you do actively, the stronger your college essay is going to become. And we say, oh, that's the right fit for you. So keep going, my friend.
Just a question for the room. He asked, we do 200 hours community service here at MAPAC. Does it help? And the answer is, it certainly doesn't hurt by any stretch. And you could leverage it to write your essay and other components of your application. So it certainly can help you in a lot of contexts. Great question, and bravo for being the first question. Josie's going to give you a full ride scholarship to Binghamton.
You got it. Good luck. Good luck to all of you.
Any other questions? Oh, in the back, way in the back.
So I'm not sure if you addressed this, but I've heard my friends say like, college is a self-guided journey. Like, you know, your college journey is yours and yours only. So like, is there any negatives to that? For example, like some people take a gap year. Can that hurt you at all, do you think? Have you seen gap years hurt people? Or like, is there any other stuff that could hurt somebody?
Not at all. So the question was, is it okay to take a gap year? Your mind does change. I went into Western as an education major. I was going to be a teacher. I said, I'm going to do it. My mom was a teacher, kind of that same thing. And then I took one practice class and I said, I'm not standing behind in front of a classroom all day long. I can't do that. So then I switched over to social work. For me, that meant my time added on an extra 2 years. Granted, at that time, I also went to college during COVID. So I wasn't ready for the real world yet. My counselor asked me, my advisor was like, okay, we're switching. Do you want to stay? Do you want to do fast pace this? How are we doing this? I was like, keep me as long as I can because I know I'm not going to be ready after being shut down and basically locked in my room doing school all day. But doing a gap year sometimes, it's up to the student and how you feel. And that's part of those conversations that you need to have. Do you feel like you're going to be prepared to do that? The other thing is all of the schools have resources for you if you are nervous. There's counseling, there's tutoring, there's clinics for things. We're basically, as long as you're looking for it, someone's going to be there to help you out every step of the way. And that all starts in high school. Your counselors are here to help you every step of the way. Okay, let's see what you have in high school. What have you done? Do they have that at college? Can we figure it out? Is there a way that can happen for you? So it really depends. It's up to you. I've seen students take gap years. I've seen students who stretch it out because they're like, I'm not really ready yet. Or they switch majors, and that's okay. No one expects you at 17, 18 to know exactly what you're doing for the rest of your life. That's one thing I've definitely learned. I was doing social work, and I was like, I'm going to be a school social worker, and now I'm working in higher ed, and I'm traveling. So it changes. Things change, things happen, but you learn along the way.
Yeah, and the other part of his question was, is college a journey? It absolutely is a journey. I go as a parent. Both my sons graduated from Binghamton. My older son, Peter, was a film major, cinema film. And I thought, oh man, what's he going to do with film? As a dad, I'm getting nervous, but hey, follow your passion, and I believe it. So, Dad, I have to take a language. I don't know. I took Spanish in high school. I'm going to try Japanese, he says, Japanese. Took Japanese, loved it. Double majored in film and in Japanese. Surrounded himself with people that inspired him, right? And now he's in business. He and his wife own an e-commerce business where they buy and sell and trade products that are just exclusive to the United States internationally. Very little to do with film and Japanese, but everything to do with his journey and the people he surrounded himself with. So I start with this. My favorite major, 130 majors at Binghamton. My favorite, undecided. We call it exploring. So I got to tell you, students, if you don't know exactly what you want to do from right now, please, you're not alone. You got plenty of time to think about. But the responsibility is on you now. That you've got to go and talk to students on your tours and ask them, why'd you choose this school? And it is your journey now. So I want you to own it.
That was great.
I think the only thing I would add about the gap year is if you decide that's right for you, what did you do in that gap year and how productive was it?
Any other questions? Go ahead, sir.
How much does the number of students who apply from any particular high school affect admission decisions, if at all? Certain schools, we would have a lot from Impact High Schools on students. So just curious if that.
So a question for the room is, does it matter how many students apply for MAYOPAC, right? And the easy answer, we get this question a lot, I say to families, I admit students, not schools. Okay, and that's a really good way to think about it. I'm looking for students who are going to fit the bill for my institution. If I just happen to have 10 kids from MAYOPAC do that, then so be it. However, there are going to be some schools out there that are going to seek out geographic diversity in their applicant pool or their enrolled pool. So it could matter for some institutions. Anybody who's below a 20% accept rate, all bets are off. They might take a singular kid from MAYOPAC. They might only take 2 kids from the state of New York. So it may not be that low, but nevertheless, you kind of get the point I'm making. It's wildly different out there. It's going to change by year at the discretion of the admission director, VP, et cetera. But generally speaking, I feel really safe in saying we admit students, not schools.
I agree with that. That's a great way of saying that. By the way, when we talk about holistic review, it all matters. One of the things I loved about seeing my sons graduate from college, they made best friends with people who lived in Mumbai, India, in Beijing, China. And I hit the best band at my son's wedding was from Guatemala. We didn't meet him in upstate New York, kind of a bubble non-diverse high school, right? He met him on campus. And I think to me, we look at all those pieces together to become one big community. So it's not necessarily about a specific high school, but it's about what do we want our class to look like and who do we want to, what kind of lifelong memories do we want to explore from there? Yeah.
Additional questions from the audience? Yes.
So with the SAT, when you take it multiple times and you receive that super score, and you take it 2 or 3 times, does that dilute the value of the score you receive taking multiple times?
No. No, they'll take the highest from each. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It doesn't, it won't affect it, yeah.
Yeah, you can take it as many times as you want. What I tell students is, if you want to take it 5 times, take it 5 times. You're gonna take your best math and best writing score. Merge them, that's your score. So as many times as you want to do it, you can do it.
And each one of us super scores here, right? But not every college does, so ask the question. Because sometimes they'll say, we're only gonna take 1, and that's it.
He's gonna give himself algebra, taking it 4 times.
But ask the question, because we're all different. So it depends is probably the right answer to that one.
I would share with you very openly, statistically speaking, there is no significant difference between a second or third evaluation on the SATs, excluding significant test preparation. So I generally do not advise students to test more than twice unless you're really, really buckling down and generally speaking, probably paying a pro to assist you in your preparation.
And sometimes the SAT and the ACT are just a little bit different. So you've taken that SAT a couple of times and you're not moving and you don't feel comfortable. Try an ACT because a different style of testing might be your better style.
Any other questions? Go ahead. Can you repeat that one more time so we can hear it? Just a little louder.
Base criteria for a good college essay? Oh,
Criteria?
Yeah.
We've read thousands through the years. Thousands. Go ahead.
I usually tell students, if you're going to write your essay, make sure that it's about you. Yes, we want to hear who's inspired you, why, what are the most common ones I hear? Football and baseball, and why you chose and play that sport and all things like that. But we want to know why it connects back to you and makes you who you are. And that's another thing why I tell students too, your essays, your letters of recommendation, they all tell us who you are. Obviously, we want to know what other people think about you with your letters of recommendation, but we want to see how you see yourself as well and how you'll connect with us at the university.
I'll just quickly add, there's no prescriptive formula for the essay. It's going to vary wildly by school, and it's subjective to the person who reads it. There's sometimes I read an essay, I'm the VP, and sometimes my counselor's like, you think that's a great essay? I'm like, absolutely, that's a great essay. And they're like, it didn't really do anything for me, So as long as you follow the 4 C's and make it about you, don't squander an opportunity by talking about your great uncle or your grandfather and how great they were. Talk about who you are. And I'll just take a brief second to pontificate about AI. The big question I oftentimes get about AI in the essay is, can I use it? I say, sure, totally. Use AI to help you outline your essay. Maybe do a grammar check. But don't use AI as like a pump and dump and just get a prompt out of it and get a prompt in, prompt out essay, because even if it's good and even if we don't detect it on my side, what a missed opportunity it is on your end to tell your story. This is like your chance, your moment to shine. So I usually encourage students to leverage it if they'd like to, but don't wholeheartedly just dump your essay into AI and get it written for you. Just like you shouldn't pay somebody else to do it, which has been done since the beginning of time. So, don't squander that opportunity.
I heard this really cool story one time, and I like to pass it on. Again, it has everything to do with, let me hear who you are. Let me hear your story. So, for example, if you were to write your college essay on a piece of paper, don't put your name on it, and you dropped it in the cafeteria, actually just dropped it on the floor, and students walked by and someone picked it up, and they read that essay, and they go, oh, I know who that is. I know who that is, right? That's important because when we read that as admissions people, we want to say, do our stories match? If we admitted you, would you stay? Authentically, you know our story, right? You're touring and you know who we are, so we want to know who you are.
Great. Any last questions? Over here, thank you.
It depends.
I'd say all of the above. If you're in Division I, obviously that's going to be taken care of for athletics, but teacher recommendation, council recommendation.
Yeah, there's, I know sometimes it's really tough for when we start throwing the word best around. There usually isn't a best. And when it comes to your counselor's going to write you one thing, it's going to be fabulous, is providing you give them chocolate. No chocolate, terrible letter from them. So make sure you bribe them. It works. Flattery gets you everywhere in life. When it comes to a teacher letter recommendation, most schools are only looking for 2 letters, okay? You don't have to pick your favorite teacher. In fact, I probably strongly encourage you not to pick your favorite teacher because it's probably about 17 other kids' favorite teacher too. Pick the person who can speak to your growth academically best, right? Now, maybe it's the teacher who had first-year mathematics with and you just flunked like Algebra 1, but you came back again with a vengeance and calc, pre-calc, and you're killing it. That teacher could write a phenomenal letter of recommendation about academic growth in the past 3 years. You know, so it doesn't have to be where you did the best, but I'd love it to be where we can evidence academic curiosity or academic engagement or able to take critique, right? A teacher who can write, hey, I was pretty critical about the student's essay, and they took that feedback and they gave me a revised essay that was phenomenal. That's a great teacher letter recommendation. So there's really no best, right? But anybody who can write to those things, I think, would really get you across the finish line for what we're trying to do in our letter.
Yeah, and really ask that question to the place you're applying to, because each one of us is going to have a different take on that. When I said depends, I wasn't being facetious. Binghamton, we want someone who knows you well academically. So it's going to be a teacher or a guidance counselor. But some schools may say, hey, I want your employer or, you know, a politician, or whatever that means for you. So I read one beautiful one this year, and it almost brought a little tear to my eye. It was beautiful. But it was from this young lady's grandmother. So it didn't count. It was good. But so she had to go back and get one that was academically the right fit for her.
Okay. Any other questions before we close for tonight? All right. Well, I just want to thank everyone for being here tonight, and I hope our families are leaving with a clearer perspective on the process and have greater confidence in the path ahead. And I just want to thank our college admissions reps, Joe, Alexa, Ryan, Donato, for joining us and generously sharing your time and your expertise and insights to our Mayapack families. And also thank you to our school counselors. Your contributions, we really appreciate, and your continued support. And just remember, everybody, we are here for you, your counseling department, your school counselor is here to support you. And don't hesitate to reach out. We are partners to collaborate with you through this process, and it's all going to be okay, and we're really, really excited to support you. A link to tonight's presentation and the live stream recording is going to be shared. We'll email it out to you. It will also be on your junior-senior site in the archive page as well. Thank you, everyone, for your time, your participation. Great questions tonight, and wish you a wonderful evening. Get home safe. Thank you.